Welcome to the main evening news, the headlines this Easter Sunday. Israeli delegation in Cairo for fresh round of peace talks, but Gaza bombardment continues with dozens killed in the latest airstrikes. A teenage pedestrian and a cyclist die in separate road crashes in counties Mayo and Kildare. Remembering the Rising, President Higgins leads the state commemoration of Easter 1916 at the GPO. And Derry claimed the Alliance Football League Division 1 title following a penalty shootout victory over Dublin in Croke Park. Gaza peace talks are resuming in Cairo amid reports of dozens of deaths in the enclave overnight after the latest Israeli bombardment. Meanwhile, as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is undergoing surgery tonight, tens of thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets of Jerusalem, demanding fresh elections over his government's handling of the Gaza war.
A familiar scene across Gaza. More Israeli airstrikes hit the strip overnight. The Hamas-run government claims 77 people were killed in the bombardments, most of them women and children. The Israeli army is still operating inside Al-Shifa hospital, the territory's biggest. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claims 200 gunmen have been killed there. While in Lebanon, Israel has been striking Hezbollah targets. The latest, according to the army, killing a commander from the militant group. Another sea aid convoy is on its way to Gaza from Cyprus, the second such shipment. Countries have also ramped up aid airdrops, but agencies warn this falls far short of what's needed.
The last ship that came in had the equivalent of 12 trucks on it. One of the emergency drops from a helicopter might be the equivalent of one truck. Where I am in the south, where I've just come from the border, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trucks desperate to get in. So roads remain the fastest, the most efficient, the safest way to get aid into those people who are facing imminent famine.
Talks aimed at achieving a ceasefire are resuming in Cairo, significantly with an Israeli delegation. But Benjamin Netanyahu said Hamas has hardened its position. The Israeli PM is undergoing hernia surgery tonight, and signalling his condition isn't serious, he spoke beforehand.
I assure you that I will get through this treatment successfully and return to action very quickly.
When he returns, Mr Netanyahu will be under growing pressure. Today saw a second consecutive day of anti-government protests in Israel. Calling for fresh elections, tens of thousands of people demonstrated outside the parliament in Jerusalem, in what's been reported as the largest demonstration since the war with Hamas began. Angus Cox, RTE News.
Back home, 2 more people have died following separate road crashes in counties Mayo and Kildare. A teenage pedestrian was killed after he was hit by a car on the N17 near Claremorris, while a cyclist died in a collision in Knocknaghee.
Another tragedy on the main road between Galway and Sligo. A 17-year-old boy sustained fatal injuries when he was struck by a car on this stretch of the N17 at around 9:20 last night. The road was closed for a time overnight and early this morning, while Garda forensic inspectors carried out an examination of the site where this death occurred. The route reopened to traffic by mid-morning.
The fatality happened just a short distance from where 3 other people lost their lives on the N17 earlier this week. Una Bowden and her children, Ciara and Saoirse, all died when their car was in collision with a truck around 2 kilometres from here last Tuesday.
The deaths of 4 people on the same stretch of road in recent days has drawn further attention to the frequency of collisions on the main route between the west and northwest. Meanwhile, in County Kildare, emergency services attended the scene of another fatal crash involving a cyclist and a car at Knocknaghee this morning. The cyclist, a man in his 60s, was pronounced dead at the scene close to Carlow town. The latest tragedies have prompted a renewed appeal to all road users to exercise caution.
Please slow down. Please do not drive under the influence of drink or drugs. Please wear your seatbelt and please put away your mobile phone and do not be distracted when you are driving.
Gardaí say a roads policing initiative across the Easter period has so far resulted in over 100 incidents being detected around the country where drivers are suspected of being under the influence of drink or drugs. The enforcement operation will continue throughout the rest of the bank holiday weekend. Pat McGrath, RTE News, Claremorris, County Mayo.
A man in his 20s is in a critical condition following a serious assault in Clondalkin in Dublin. A second man was treated for injuries that are not life-threatening. The attack happened in the Grangeview Way area shortly after 10 o'clock last night.
Grangeview Way, a residential street where a serious assault took place at around 10:15 last night. The area has been sealed off for a technical examination. Two men believed to be in their late 20s and who are foreign nationals were injured in the attack. One of the men was taken to Tala Hospital where his condition is described as critical. The other man who he was with is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Gardaí are appealing for witnesses not only at the scene but here on Tower Road in Clondalkin, where the men may have got into a confrontation with a group before boarding the number 13 bus. Gardaí are asking anyone who travelled on that bus between Clondalkin and Bonogue from 9:45 p.m. last night to contact them, either at Clondalkin Garda Station or on the Garda Confidential line. Motorists with dashcam footage are also being urged to come forward.
I think the community is shocked this morning to wake up to such dreadful news on an Easter Sunday, where most people are celebrating Easter, and terrible that somebody has ended up in critical condition. So I think firstly it's important to send our regards and our thoughts to their family and to the person, and hopefully they make a full recovery, and the other person that was injured in the assault. So look, I'd appeal to anybody that saw anything to come forward.
Gardaí were combing the area this afternoon, as well as conducting house-to-house inquiries. No arrests have yet been made. Eleanor Byrnehill, RTE News in Clondalkin.
In New York, a 41-year-old Irish woman has died after she was stabbed at a bar in Queens. A man also suffered stab wounds in the incident at the Cayley House pub in Maspeth yesterday evening. The woman was taken to Elmhurst Hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. It's understood she was originally from the Midlands. President Michael D. Higgins has led the state commemoration of the Easter Rising at the GPO. The President, who was recovering after a recent stay in hospital, was joined by An Taoiseach, An Tánaiste and Northern Ireland's First Minister.
It is a solemn ceremony and the President, as always, laid a wreath on behalf of the people of Ireland for those who died in 1916. It also celebrates the event which Óglaigh na hÉireann, the Defence Forces, marks as its foundation.
We would consider it is a continuous line stretching all the way back to Pearson 1916.
Every year, an officer reads the proclamation of the Republic.
We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland.
For many, it's an important reminder of the fundamental values of the state.
But when you listen carefully to the words of the proclamation and how it still resonates today, equality, Irish men, Irish women, suffrage, etc.
This is where it all stemmed from. Like within the proclamation, it mentions the Irish volunteers, and we have that on our buttons, IV, and this is where it all stems from.
This was Leo Varadkar's last ceremony as Taoiseach, and the first attended by a Northern Ireland First Minister. It ended with the national anthem and the traditional flypast by the Air Corps. The President left to warm applause from the crowd. Coleman O'Sullivan, RTE News.
Northern Ireland's First Minister Michelle O'Neill has said her main objective was to maintain the stability of the Stormont institutions following the resignation of DUP leader Jeffrey Donaldson. She was speaking after the state Easter Rising commemoration.
My priority as First Minister is to provide that stability, to work with all the other party leaders, all those that form our executive. We're a four-party coalition, and I think now more than ever what we need to see is cohesion. I have, over the course of the last couple of days, spoken to all the other party leaders, including the interim leader of the DUP, and it's really, really important now that we knuckle down into the deliverables, getting down to a programme for government and doing the business of government.
Pope Francis has reiterated his call for a ceasefire in Gaza and for the release of Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The pontiff also used his Easter Sunday Urbi et Orbi address to call for a general exchange of prisoners between Russia and Ukraine.
Thousands packed the streets of the Vatican this morning to celebrate Easter Sunday. On the steps of St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis, along with 34 cardinals, 18 bishops and 300 priests, led the celebration. An estimated 30,000 people were at St. Peter's Square to pray with the pontiff. Afterwards, Pope Francis made his way around St. Peter's Square on the Pope Mobile to greet people. At noon, from the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, the Pope delivered his twice-yearly Urbi et Orbi blessing and message to the world. Amongst the issues he raised included a renewed call for a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the more than 130 Israeli hostages held by Hamas. The Pope also urged a general exchange of prisoners between Russia and Ukraine. It's no secret that the 87-year-old has been in poor health in recent weeks. It's forced him on repeated occasions to limit his public speaking and to cancel engagements, as he did on Good Friday, skipping a procession at Rome's Colosseum at short notice. However, he took part in other Holy Week events and was undoubtedly in good spirits leading Easter celebrations this morning. Ailbhe Keneally, RTE News.
In France, police say they have found the remains of a toddler who went missing from a village in the Alps last summer. The 2-year-old, known only as Emile, vanished in July while staying with his grandparents. The remains were found by a walker. Tests confirmed that they were those of the little boy. Here, the imposition of a €2.5 million fine on Ireland last month for failing to implement a new EU law has led to calls for a new Oireachtas committee to be given additional powers. Independent Senator Michael McDougall has claimed that members are encountering obstacles when trying to ensure legislative deadlines are met and fines are avoided.
The fine was imposed by the European Court of Justice in February due to Ireland's failure to incorporate an online safety directive by the September 2020 deadline.
Apart from the embarrassment, this is also going to be costly. There's a €2.5 million lump sum fine. Ireland has to pay for its own legal representation at the court and that of the European Commission, and it also has to pay €10,000 each day, every day, until the EU legislation is transposed into Irish law to the satisfaction of the European Commission.
The debacle has led to calls for this committee to be given additional powers. That's because the Seanad Select Committee on the scrutiny of draft EU statutory instruments is endeavouring that transposition deadlines are met and fines avoided.
It is clear that the delay in the way these laws are being implemented is costing the citizens of Ireland millions of euros in unnecessary fines, and therefore the role of the committee should be expanded to make sure that this no longer happens.
We've run into a few obstacles, and one of them is that we are finding it difficult to bring into the open the state of non-transposition and the consequences for Ireland.
The committee chair says he backs the demands.
What we need is enhanced powers. We need a faster flow of statutory instruments as opposed to information notes, so as the committee can scrutinise in a timely manner.
The latest multi-million euro fines from the European Court of Justice will only bolster the committee's argument. Paul Cunningham, RTE News, Leinster House.
Now it's over to Ivan for all today's sports news.
Thanks very much, Eibhlín. Good evening. Mickey Hart's Derry have beaten the All-Ireland champions Dublin to claim the Allianz Football League Division 1 title. It was an evening of high drama, which needed a penalty shootout to find a winner.
A final for the ages. Derry raced into an early lead before a 16th minute Colin Basquel goal gave Dublin the advantage in a fiercely contested opening half. It was all square at half-time, won 7 to 10 points, before Derry pressed on after the break. A Shane McGuigan penalty was followed by an unstoppable shot from the boot of Owen McAvoy. Dublin and Derry vying for early bragging rights in a frenetic league final played at championship pace. Derry squandered a number of goal chances that could have secured the win within 70 minutes. Con O'Callaghan's late free ensured the teams would play out a further 20 minutes, at least. Derry held a 1-point lead midway through extra time before Owen McAvoy's second goal had Mickey Hart's men with one hand on the trophy. Cillian O'Gara was denied a goal and then Brian Fenton was sent off. Dublin down to 14. It was looking good for the Ulster champions, but there was a further twist to come. Greg McEnany, a late addition to the matchday panel, resurrected Dublin's chances in this Easter Sunday showdown. Penalties followed. Ethan Doherty made it 3 from 3 for Derry, following Conor Glass and Shane McGuigan's successful spot kicks. Earlier misses from Con O'Callaghan and Lorcan O'Dell, and Tom Lahiff had to score Dublin's 4th penalty. The St Jude's man denied by the post, and after a breathtaking evening at Croke Park, Derry reigned supreme. Shane Dawson, RTE News.
So Derry toppled the All-Ireland champions to set up a fresh rivalry ahead of championship. Marty Morrissey caught up with the goal scorer in chief, Owen McAvoy.
We've had the most dramatic Division 1 Alliance Football League final in years. Dublin and Derry went to extra time. Brian Fenton, all-star midfielder, was sent off on a straight red. And then, of course, the game went to penalties. And Derry had so many stars as they won their first title since 2008. I'm joined by Owen McAvoy, who scored 2 cracking goals from centre half back. Owen, congratulations. What a day for Derry football.
I know, what a way to win it. We thought we won in normal time. Things didn't happen. We thought we won in extra time. And then, to win it on penalties, it is special. There is a lot of controversy with it, but it's some way to win, like.
It is an incredible way to win. I've known you as a full-back since I got to know you, not as a centre-back, but I think you're permanent residence now, having scored 2 great goals.
Even they're doing the Hills bit as well, But nah, look, the chance is open, and horses said if you're in them spaces, you just have to go for it, and thankfully they went in the net,
What did you feel about the penalties? Were you nervous about, or did you know that your teammates would pull it off?
No, Lynchy's my club mate, and I back him. He's a big man. He's done it before, so that's the way it is. Like.
Well done to you. Well done to Derry as they won their first title, their 7th overall, and Mickey Hart has brought a national title to Derry.
Well, there is a national title going to Donegal too. They were crowned Division 2 champions after a 1-point win over Armagh earlier today. There was very little to separate the sides in the first half, with Donegal leading by a point, and they pressed on after the break with some spectacular scores to extend their lead. Armagh fought back with 5 consecutive points that saw Kieran McGeeney's side go from 4 down to 1 up. The teams exchanged scores in a breathless finish, but it was Donegal who prevailed. Aaron Doherty with the winning score in the 73rd minute to secure a 15 points to 14 win.
That was the main challenge for the year, to get out of Division 2, get promoted, and we achieved that. And now anytime you get playing Croke Park for a national title, it's always nice to win, so it's another tick for the book there. Yeah, the whole setup there with Jim and the backroom staff, everything's just been really top class, and I think everyone has bought in, and listen, it's just been so positive to work under them and work under the coaches, and every man's just giving it everything, and that's all you can ask for.
Ireland have lost a second successive game in this year's Six Nations Championship. After a slow start, Italy dominated the second half and put on a show for the 6,500 spectators gathered in the Dublin sunshine. There was a record crowd for a women's match at the RDS today, as both Italy and Ireland looked to bounce back from defeats, and it was Scott Beeman's side who initially showed real intent. The opening 10 minutes saw Ireland attack relentlessly, and they were rewarded with a penalty try after a deliberate knock-on by Italy's full-back, who then spent 10 minutes in the bin. Ireland boasted the lion's share of possession, but the Italians kicked for touch on the half-hour mark and scored off the line-out maul. Ireland opted to do the same from a penalty shortly afterwards, but didn't find touch, and the momentum swung entirely for the visitors, who created and scored another try and a penalty before half-time to lead 15-7. Ireland had a few opportunities to bridge the gap, but the finish eluded them, while Italy showed the attacking prowess they lacked early in the game, their forwards and backs combining for a try for 22-7. An Irish try from play finally came, and it was brilliantly converted by Dana O'Brien. Italy deservedly wrapped up the bonus point in the 69th minute, and Ireland came alive but ran out of time. Oregon raced in to score for the losing bonus point, and though Italy still looked home and hosed, Dan O'Brien kicked for the corner one last time for last-minute drama. Monaghan, McGrath and Wafer all carried, but Ireland failed to protect the ball, and it finished 27-21.
Our handling errors let us down. We weren't clinical when we needed to be, but you know, that's something, it wasn't going to click overnight. We still have so much to work on. Like, we've such a young team, and it is getting there, and you can see, like, we took a step forward.
Next up is a game in Cork against Wales. Liverpool end the day 2 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. They came from a goal down to beat Brighton, while Manchester City and Arsenal ended scoreless.
I really think it was the best game against Brighton we played since Roberto is there, definitely, and so yeah, good day.
There were no winners or losers in the meeting of Manchester City and Arsenal. An attempted header from Nathan Ake saw the ball come off his shoulder. Early in the second half, Mateo Kovacic tried his luck from outside the box. In a game of few chances, substitute Leandro Trossard was unable to find a way past Stefan Ortega. Arsenal will have the chance to go back on top on Wednesday. They host Luton Town. Dave Kelly, RTE News.
The Jimmy Mangan-trained Spillane Tower won today's Grade 1 Gold Cup at Ferryhouse. Mark Walsh was on board for the feature on day 2 of the Easter Festival.
At the last, Spillane Tower is over in front from Tactical Move and Blood Destiny, and Tactical Move trying to pick up on the near side. Spillane Tower's in front, hanging on to the advantage. Tactical Move in second, and as they race up towards the line, it's a welcome back to the top table of National Racing for Jimmy Mangan as Spillane Tower takes a second Connor trained winner of the Willow Worm Gold Cup.
And that is your sports, so it's back to Eibhlín.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. And that is the main evening news and sport this Easter Sunday. From all the team, good night and take care.